You're listening to Atlanta Baseball Talk, your weekly podcast for all things Atlanta Braves.
Welcome to show number 311. Today's Sunday, August 16, 2015, and my name is Steve. I'm joined by both Hamilton and Curtis. And guys, in tonight's show, we'll talk about the ex-Braves now in LA and Cleveland, the new additions of Bourn and Swisher, as well as Tyron's last three starts. But first, guys, the Braves went 2-3 this week. Some of it was really pretty, some of it was ugly. So, Ham, what's your good and bad for this week?
I got to give a broad good to the starting pitching overall. Other than Fulte's start on Saturday, our guys kept us in every game, gave us a shot to win. I mean, Perez had a gem on Monday, 8 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned. Whistler only pitched 5, but he gave up 2. Tyron, we'll talk about him, but 6 innings pitched, 7 Ks, 1 earned run. And then Shelby today, which was just I'm glad we got the win, but Detweiler sort of let him down a little bit. It was too bad because he was unstoppable today. So, I think if we could get our guys to go 6 or 7 innings every game, that would be also amazing. But our guys, the starting pitching gave us a shot to win every game. Even Fulte's game, we were somehow a little bit still in it. That was the good sign for me for the week.
Yeah, and the hit that broke up his no-hit bid was really a cheapie. I mean, it was just dumped into no man's land between second, right, and center, And the shots of Shelby coming off the field and going into the dugout and sort of slamming his glove down, but, trying to keep it together and not seem blamey about the team, which he really does a great job of.
Mm-hmm. And in a lot of ways has every right to be.
Oh, my God, yeah. And, the post-game interview with Cameron Maben, obviously they talked about the home run first, but next they talked about Shelby, and he was just so glowing about, there's no one we fight harder for and all that stuff. Like it was, in the midst of his crazy run of bad luck, there's a lot of good stuff in sort of the character that they're showing.
Totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree.
All right, what's your bad for the weekend?
Well, I'd say the bad is the flip side is the bullpen. I mean, the reason that we went 2-3 in a lot of ways, and not 4-1, we had 2 blown saves this week. Other than Perez's game where we didn't see the bullpen, there wasn't a clean sheet in any of the other 4 games. The bullpen gave up at least 1 run in every game, and so it was. Obviously, I guess today's run was charged to Shelby, but it was Detweiler, and so I just it's unfortunate when you've got these young pitchers who are working hard, or even Tyron and Shelby who've had struggles, and the bullpen sort of lets them down. That was the bad sign for me this week.
Yeah, I mean, Grilly and Johnson being out of the picture is hard to recover from when it was already a questionable bullpen. But yeah, it really is a dumpster fire again. I mean, the bullpen gave up 10 runs this week. Now, not all of those were earned, but there's not a lot of, thank God he's in.
No, other than Vizcaino.
Did you guys see the Marksberry, not covering first and then arguing with the ump, and then the guy from second scores? Like, it was just ugly.
Amateur.
God, it really was. The next day on Quick Pitch on MLB Network, they showed the Braves game and they showed that highlight. And then in subsequent highlights, when someone would make an error, they'd show it and then they'd be like, but it wasn't as bad as this, and they'd show the Marksberry thing again.
Oh God,
nice.
Yeah, at least we're getting national.
Yeah,
news.
We're getting a lot of pub.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with that particular situation with Marksberry, I mean, why was he left in that long?
Yeah, because there's not a lot of good choices.
I understand that, but I mean,
tough with those glasses.
Yeah, I mean, is it Freddie, like, he's got to work himself out of this situation kind of thing?
In all honesty, I do. I mean, to some degree, it's like, get these guys the experience, grow guys till next year, for next year. I didn't have that big a problem with him leaving him in. But then that mental error, I mean, you got to take him out at that point because he's just rattled. And at least he did that.
I mean, in a game that's winnable like that, to just have it blown.
Yeah. No,
Really
I mean, I certainly see that
badly.
other side of it. I mean, there's part of me that's like, God, if we could just, get in front of the Nats. Like, it would be such a victory to have more wins than the Nats this year, who are just imploding. Do you guys see that the Nats are one game under 500 for the first time since, like, early May?
Yeah, how quick is Matt Williams fired at the end of the season?
Yeah, if they don't win the NL East, so quick.
Well, and they're not. I mean, don't you feel like the Mets have got all the momentum and right where they want to be going into the last third?
That said, the Mets got swept this weekend too, and it's still only 4.5 games. But the Nationals really are tight.
Yeah,
I mean, they're just finding a way to lose.
And just to be sure, I would love that if we had more wins than the Nationals.
It would just be the best.
In case that was unclear.
And I can't wait for the first Papelbon blown save. I mean, I just want it so bad.
It's time for them to circle the jackwagons.
Hey. All right,
you.
Curtis, what's your good? What's your good for the week?
That was it. My humor.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, so a lukewarm week.
I am going more micro than the starting pitching, although that was great. But with Nick Swisher being just terrible, it was good to see Turdo have a good week because obviously he was going to play some more first. We're still waiting for Freeman to come back. So Turdo had a good week. He had a good game there in Tampa, and he ended up batting .444 this week. He only struck out 2 times, and he had 3 doubles. So he was a guy that obviously Cameron Maben had a great week. And we shouldn't overlook
Crazy that catch. Oh my God, I don't remember what night. Friday night, I guess it was. That diving catch, unbelievable by Maben.
But it's just kind of, and unfortunately, maybe we overlook the guys that were used to being more productive for this team and focus on guys that aren't. But I felt like Turdo should get a little shine since he did have a nice little week for us.
Yeah, I totally agree. What about the bad, Kurt?
The offense is really just terrible. And it really has been so since the All-Star break. Obviously, Ham mentioned the bullpen as to why we went 2 and 3. Really, the other reason we went 2 and 3 was because our offense is just really bad.
So true.
So need Freddie back. I mean, I really do want to see this offense with Freddie back.
Well, and you hope that Oliveira is a piece too. But I mean, you're taking Adonis Garcia out of our lineup, who has been one of the most productive guys that we've got out there. I mean, unfortunately, it's constantly a situation where it seems like the guy that we can replace the player with is the one that's actually producing. Like we've taken Yuri Perez, who was producing, and put Michael Bourn in, but no production. I mean, Markakis leads the team since the All-Star break with 14 RBI. If there were only 4 of the guys have more than 7. As I mentioned, Adonis Garcia has got 4 home runs, which leads the team. Freddie is second on that, and he's only played in 10 games. So there's really not a lot going on. And you've got some guys at the top that are hitting well, but then it drops off pretty precipitously for the starters, at least. I mean, there's some spot guys that have got decent numbers, but I mean, you're looking at Maben 248, Peterson 225. It's just, they're bad.
Yeah, we left 32 men on base this week, and the runners in scoring position. We were well under 300, especially the last 2 games. We just could not drive runners in,
which is what we excelled at the beginning of the year, and why we played better at the beginning of the year, going without saying. So,
but Hammy, luckily we played 9 games this week, so the average isn't so bad.
Oh yeah, right.
That's true.
Exactly.
All those double headers. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But this just goes to the team, and that. There is and I know that Oliveira is supposed to be phase 2, piece 1, but they really need to start focusing a lot of effort on the offense.
God, Oliveira should wear a phase 2, piece 1 T-shirt when he arrives at Turner
It's his
Field.
nickname. Yes, his new nickname.
It's a bit of a mouthful, but so Oliveira.
Patent pending.
Oliveira went 0 for his time in the Gulf Coast League.
Well, in all fairness, the pitching is much tougher in the Gulf Coast League than it will be when he gets up here.
It's true. The breaking stuff is ungodly in the Gulf Coast League.
I think he saw Kenshin Kawakami twice. So
Oliveira had his first game with the Rome Braves today and went 0 for 3. And look, I'm not saying this because it's super meaningful and whatever. We got to see when he gets here, but I could use him having a hit or 2 in the minors before we call him up.
Yeah, it certainly would help.
I feel a little better.
Also, winning is better than losing.
Exactly. All right, so for my good, I want to point to the Edwin Jackson signing, which just from a sort of front office perspective, it's a no-brainer, right? The guy we know, has pitched well. They're paying a prorated amount of the league minimum. And he had a great performance Saturday night. He went 2 1/3, hitless, relief appearance, struck out 4 of the 7 batters he faced. So that would be great if he becomes a bit of a stabilizing force in the bullpen.
Well, he had pitched better. He had pitched better as a reliever. Sorry, Ham.
Yeah, with the Cubs
before they released him.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I mean, do you think he's a long-term viable solution? You think? I mean, you start to squint a little bit. Do you see a Jackson Vizcaíno back into the rotation for more than just this season?
God, no.
Well, who knows? I mean, the thing is that he was DFA'd, right? So if he pitches really well out of the pen for the Braves, he's going to become a more, wanted commodity in the offseason. This is probably the end of our relationship with Jackson, but hopefully he can add some value this year. Just to touch on the Williams-Perez thing, Hammy, not only was it great because it was just a great start, but, this was his 3rd start back from the DL, and his first 2 were dreadful. So for it to really be like he's gotten comfortable again, he's back in the groove, and we get the old Williams-Perez back, would just be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And just one other that, Peter Moylan was brought up, I think, late last night, and he pitched today, right, and was good. I mean, he looked good. He induced a ground out, and a fly ball out to get out of that inning. And so these were his quotes from after the game. Felt amazing, especially when we walk out of here with a win. This is more fulfilling than being called up the first time. Hopefully this is the last time I have to come back from injury. It feels like home. I'm excited to be back. I mean, like, just being able to root for Moylan the rest of the season is sort of an added bump to, the last 6 weeks. And for the bad, I would point out Shelby's run of bad luck. Like, it was really, to me, today's game was all about bullpen, just hold this freaking lead.
Yeah.
This one unearned run that you guys put up.
I was fine,
keep it for Shelby, And
I know. And I felt I was, following the game on my phone, and I was out and like checked in on the 6th inning or something, and it's like, Miller holding on to a no-hitter, and I was like, oh god. And my first thing was that my stomach dropped a little bit. Like, there's no way. This just, not for anything about him, just how sort of, cursed he has been this season, and it was, of course,
right. No hitter in the 7th. He's going to lose.
Yeah, I know exactly, and it almost happened immediately after I was checking.
Well, and he shook his head like when he gave up that hit, and it wasn't like, oh, I just gave up a hit. It was almost like the only way I'm winning at this point is if I throw a no hitter.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. So since their respective trades, here's how these 4 ex-Braves are doing. Chris Johnson with the Indians is 9 for 21 with 3 doubles. That's a .429 batting average. Alex Wood has had 3 starts with the Dodgers, 6 1/3, 4 earned given up, 5 innings, 3 earned, 6 1/3, 3 earned. Jim Johnson's pitched 5 1/3 out of the bullpen. He's given up 12 earned runs, although 8 came in 1 outing. 13 hits, 2 homers. His ERA is just a titch over 20. But once you get it under 19, like you start,
you're building on something. Yeah, exactly.
Luis Avilan has pitched 4 2/3 innings. He's given up 4 earned runs, although 3 came in 1 appearance. He's given up 4 hits and 4 walks. So, Curtis, do you take any pleasure in seeing the ex-Braves, the guys that have been traded, in seeing them struggle, or do you hate it when they do well? Like, what's your relationship with the traded guys?
Well, the one that I really don't want to see struggle is Alex Wood. And I guess it's just because he's young and I feel like he's got great potential and I'm excited for his opportunity to pitch for that team. And I don't want him to flounder. The other guys, I mean, Avilan was up and down for us, so I'm not surprised that he struggled a little. Jim Johnson, I have no connection to whatsoever. So, and as far as rooting against Chris Johnson, I can't do it. I mean, he's kind of a jerk, and I'm glad he's not on our team anymore, but whatever. I mean, it has no impact on me. There's a guy that's a Dodgers fan that I work with, and we're constantly talking ex-Braves that are on the Dodgers right now. And I would say the one that he is the most supportive of is Alex Wood. Like, he feels that the Mattingly's managerial style has left Alex Wood hung out to dry a couple of times where he was pitching well and got pulled and the bullpen kind of collapsed on him or couldn't come in and get him out of the situation that he was in. And I think Johnson is responsible for one or two of those particular instances. But I can't. I'm rooting for the guys. I mean, I that's not my nature to feel like, oh yeah, they should stink because they're not playing for the Braves anymore.
Yeah, so my dark, small nature, like, I'm actively rooting against Chris Johnson. Like, to me, a lot of it goes into it. Like, how did I feel about the guy when he was here? So I'm rooting against Chris Johnson. I will always root against BJ. I just will, right? And then it also is about the trade and how it was viewed. Like, I loved Alex Wood, and I kind of hate to see him do bad. But on the other side, I want, history to show that trade that got questioned was absolutely the right thing to do. So I'm not unhappy to see those numbers from those three guys in LA.
Yeah, and I think the Chris Johnson that's the one. It's funny. He made this huge stink. He stunk it up, and he blamed it on the Braves, right? And we talked about that in a previous show. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do if I only had a chance. And to see him go in a very small sample set, do well, and sort of validate his sort of peevishness and all that's the most upsetting to me. And I think for the other guys, I think if we had gone and before the trade said, oh, those guys are horrible, we're so lucky we got rid of them, they're going to completely stink it up for the Dodgers. For me, it may be validating to be proven right that way. But those guys they did good things for us at one point or another. I mean, I know Johnson was recent acquisition, but he held it down for us for a long time this season. And Avilan had a lot of good stuff. And Wood he was a young guy, he's a Bulldog, he's a Brave. I feel bad to see him struggle. And it's easy to say this because it hasn't impacted us, right? If we were in a race with the Dodgers and it was every game mattered and we were winning maybe at their because of their failure, it might feel differently. But I don't know. I don't take you're a small person, Steve.
I am. Look, I want Hart to be regarded as a genius for every move he's made here because it reflects well on the Braves, and I just want it all to go our way, even if that's at the suffering of others.
And I will note that I hate the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Just to be
so
fair.
To add that to, if this contributes to them not winning a World Series after they spent $800 million on their payroll, I will not have a problem with that whatsoever.
So, guys, staying with the trades, so since their arrivals, the other side of some of these trades, Michael Bourn is 2 for 20 with 4 strikeouts. Yeah, he is. And Nick Swisher is 2 for 18.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the Swisher stuff, I mean, there's no grand plans for Swisher beyond being a bench guy once Freddie returns. But how worried are you about Bourn? About Bourn, who certainly the TV and the radio guys talk about being, our starting left fielder next year, our leadoff hitter next year. How worried are you about Bourn? Hammy?
I'm worried that that's even a consideration. I mean, I'm not into Bourn at all. I do not buy into him. I think he's past his period of usefulness for the Braves. So my worry about Bourn is that he is going to get a ton of at-bats because he's our only option as a center fielder or left fielder leadoff guy if we don't keep Maben for whatever reason. I ultimately think that we're just not going to get anything from him. And the other big concern is that if he gets a certain number of plate appearances next season, doesn't his option kick in for 2017? Isn't it that kind of option?
Yeah, but it's like 550 plate appearances or something. I mean, he is the everyday starter.
Well, that's concerning.
If that option kicks in, is what I'm saying.
All right. And I'm sure the Braves are going to be mindful of that as they play him next year. But what worries me is that we're going to head into next season with the thought that Bourn is our starting left fielder and our leadoff guy. And we just give up and we stop looking.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand all the optimism that came with the trade to begin with. I mean, he came here, With 95 games under his belt this season, 246 batting average, 313 on base. 313 on base, and they're putting him in the leadoff spot. I know they're talking about, oh, we finally got our prototypical leadoff hitter. Yeah, if it was 2010.
But he's not fast anymore. I mean, he's lost a step. He's not stealing nearly as many bases.
And he's not getting on a bunch.
Yeah.
So
don't you feel like there was some hope that, like with Kelly Johnson, that coming back to Atlanta, he would recapture some comfort zone and start producing a lot better, and that they were kind of riding their hopes on that?
Well, and look, and there's a possibility that that's still coming, right? I mean, you watch his at-bats. He certainly is hitting the ball hard. He's had some bad luck. We saw it again today in the bottom of the ninth with that great catch in the outfield against him. And maybe this coming week, he does bat 350. And the homecoming really is a rejuvenation for him. I just don't see it. Although, Ham, the one place I disagree with you is I'm okay with him getting a bunch of at-bats this season. Let's really see what we have. I mean, I want them, if he hits 220 the rest of the way, I want the Braves to feel like they had a decent enough sample size to make a decision to say, we're not going to move Maben in the offseason, or we really need to start thinking, right? So
I'm with you on that, and I'm with you on that. I think it's all about looking to next season. I mean, for me, we got Bourn and Swisher just so we could get rid of Johnson. I don't think. I mean, I'm not, I know there was probably money involved, whatever. But I was like, cool, great, and maybe this season something happens and then it's over. We're done with Johnson. We don't have these guys anymore. We can just continue to build to 2017. So whatever happens this year, I don't really care. So like the Edwin Jackson thing, I guess. I mean, it's exciting. Whatever. Value this year, okay, sure. But I don't want Bourn playing at all next season. I think it'll be a disaster. I think even if he shows some signs of life over a couple of weeks, the end of this season, I think there are better options out there.
Curtis, you got anything to add?
Nope, that's it.
All right, guys, time to play fair or foul, where I throw something out there and you agree with it fair or disagree with it foul. So Tyron's numbers have gotten better lately. His last 3 starts on the road at Philly, where I was sure he was going to give up 18 runs, he pitched 7 innings, gave up 2. Then versus Florida at home, he pitched 6 2/3, gave up 3. And then this week at home against Arizona, pitched 6 innings, gave up 1. So, Curtis, fair or foul, you'd consider trading Tyron in this upcoming offseason if he could turn into a long-term solution in left field or catcher?
Well, that's obviously very tempting. And I guess my question is, are we discussing that he's going to go straight up for these guys? Like, are you going to get, I'm not saying, but Justin Upton, who may be the best left fielder available, or Jonathan LaCroix is the best catcher that potentially you could get? Are they going to trade you straight up for Tyron?
No, it would be. I mean, I don't want to talk about Justin because I just don't want. Justin.
No, I'm not suggesting that they would make a trade for Justin. I'm just using him as a.
Yeah. Do you think that a top 3 player available?
Yeah,
that's generally considered.
And let's picture LaCroix. It's going to take more than Tyron, given. I mean, I know that Tyron is affordable and long-term given the extension he got, but LaCroix, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I remember looking at it earlier this season. He's still relatively affordable for the next couple years. I think that it takes more than Tyron to get him. So let's say it's Tyron and, a 5 to 10 prospect in our in the Braves minor leagues. Do you do that?
No, I think that's too much. Regardless of what we've seen at times from Tyron this year, he's still a top of the rotation guy. He's still young. He's still cheap. And I think still has so much left to offer. I know he struggled a lot on the road this year. And I know that there's the lingering thing with him being able to pitch out west. But there's only so many shots. And I talked about this when they traded Alex Wood. There's only so many shots you can take to established starting pitching, taking it out of your rotation. Obviously, they're not going to do anything with Shelby Miller, but if you're dropping Tyron and Alex Wood in the same season, you have no idea what you're ever going to be able to get back from Mike Minor, and you're leaving it. Not that they haven't been great, but you really still have no idea what you're getting long-term from Whistler, from Williams-Perez, from Banuelos, from any of these guys. We saw Tukey get lit up this week, so I just think that you're at some point you would have to replace him with a pitcher that would cost you a lot more money than what Tyron offers you right now. And I think that you need him in your starting rotation, and you go fill these other spots. So I say foul.
Hammy, how do you see it?
Yeah, I'm pretty much spot on with Curtis. It's a tough one because, when he's good, he's really good, and he's our number 2 guy. And I don't think you get a number 2 starter, easily, like Curtis said. And we need him. We cannot rely on those young guys. And what's so maddening is that he just moved to the right side of the rubber his last 3 games, and all of a sudden it's fixed, which is just a little bit of a head scratch. It's just like, I guess, why didn't you just try that sooner, maybe? But I don't know. And I think, the flip side of this is that this is just a fluke stretch. And really, he's the bad pitcher that we've seen this season. You disregard all the previous seasons, and this is who he is, and you hope to sell high on him. But I don't know. I think you have to give up more than just Tyron to get what we need at those positions as well. So I don't think it works either way. So I say foul. I think you hold on to Tyron, you invest in him, you work to make him better. And that's the best option for the Braves.
Yeah, I mean, you take Tyron out of the equation, you start looking at 2016, you've got, I think, pretty well definite Shelby, Whistler, Williams, Perez. And then it's like a lot of unknowns. Folty, Banuelos, Tyrell Jenkins, Max Fried, you have no idea what you have. Mike Minor, who knows if they're bringing him back. Lucas Sims may vie for a spot. So essentially, I agree with you. It would have to be a really good piece, and maybe that we don't have to give anything else up, and we get more than just Lucroy. I don't see the Brewers making that trade, but the Braves would really have to be blown away to give up that potential foundation in Tyron.
Or they have to get a prospect who's not played in the majors yet. Like a top catching prospect or a top left field prospect, not an all-star.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move on to Shot in the Dark, our prediction for the coming week. And we'll start with our listener pick. And it was from Twitter follower, I'm gonna butcher your name, Bill. I'm sorry, Bill Bullion. And it was that the starting pitchers get no losses this week. Unfortunately. So Perez got the loss in the first game of the week, despite his 8-inning, 2-earned run performance. And Folty was tagged with a loss as well. So, guys, before we get to our predictions for this week, let's check in on how we did last week. So, Kurt, you predicted that Shelby would remain winless and give up 4 earned runs in 5 innings pitched. He indeed did not win, but went 7 and gave up 1 this afternoon.
Reverse jinx.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Ham, you predicted that Bourn would hit under 200 this week. He went 1 for 15, which is...
Is that under 200?
It's under 200. It's just .066.
Okay.
I predicted that Bourn would hit over 350 this week. Did not come close to that. So, Ham, you are the winner.
Nice.
And you take a 2-0 lead here in August.
It's unprecedented.
It is unprecedented.
Yes.
All right, so Hammy.
Yes.
Since it's your turn, what is your shot in the dark this week?
I bet that the Cubs hit 9 homers against us in the 4 games that we play with them.
Wow.
9 or more.
So we were talking before we started recording. The Cubs have hit the most homers of any team, or the second most since the All-Star break?
Second most in the National League. We have 17. They have 34.
Yeah, and so I feel like, and I was trying to come up, I was like, did 7 seem too light? And then I was like, 8. Okay, 2 homers a game, because we have 4 with them. And I felt like even that wasn't such a shot in the dark, it felt. So I'm going with 9 to make it a little risky. And maybe it's a reverse jinx.
All right, we shall see.
For the record, the Mariners have 46.
Oh, my God. Well, look, Swisher can only hit so many, Curtis.
That's true.
All right, Kurt, what's your shot in the dark for this week?
Cameron Maben going back to San Diego with the proverbial chip on the shoulder. I have him batting in that series 350 with 3 doubles, and he steals 2 bases.
That would be nice. And I'm going to stick with San Diego as well. My prediction is that Williams Perez throws a complete game shutout in San Diego in that pitcher-friendly park.
At least we didn't go any reverse and pick any Padres to do something against the Braves.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's take a look at our win-loss predictions that we made last week and then look ahead to this week's games. So it was a 2-3 week, and no one got it right. Ham and Kurt, you guys both predicted 3-2, and I predicted 4-1. Somehow forgetting what season it was and
really should have been
the roster.
Should have been 3-2.
It should have been 3-2.
Really should have been.
All right, guys, so for the week ahead, 7 games on the road where the Braves make all their hay. 3 at San Diego and 4 at Chicago Cubs. So let's look at the pitching matchups. With Game 1 against the Padres is Williams Perez versus Colin Ray, making his second Major League start. Then it is Whistler versus James Shields and his 3.89 ERA. Shields has given up 13 runs over his last 4 starts. Finishing up in San Diego is Tyron versus Tyler Ross and his 3.4 ERA. On to Wrigley, where the series starts with Fulte against Kyle Hendricks and his 3.97 ERA. Then, very sexy matchup Friday. It's a 4 o'clock start. Shelby Miller versus Jake Arrieta and his 2.39 ERA. Saturday is Williams Perez versus newly acquired Dan Herron, which I kind of missed somehow. Who did the Cubs send to Florida for Dan Herron? Do you guys know? I don't remember that. But Dan Herron's there. He's given up 3 runs in each of his 3 starts with the Cubs.
Please include Braves killer.
Braves killer Dan Herron.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the final game is Whistler again versus Jason Hamill, who is also killing it. He's got a 3.1 ERA. So tough matchups in Chicago. Hammy, what is your prediction for the week?
I say we go 2-5, 1-1, or 1-2, 1-3.
Yeah, the Cubs are rolling, man. The Cubs are rolling. Curtis, how about you?
I'm going to do a little better than that. I'm going to say 3-4, 1-2, but then they split somehow in Chicago.
All right, Hammy, I'm with you. 2-5 and 1 win in each series.
Whoa, you're such a
me, the eternal optimist.
I know, and Steve's such a small person.
Yeah, well, during my time off, I did some soul searching. I figured some things out about the team.
You listened to the shows that Ham and I did?
Yes, exactly.
Like, what have I been thinking all these months?
It's been a while since one of us got it right, the win-loss prediction. I mean, and Kurt, you nailed on the head. This team is very hard to figure out. Watch us go 6-1 this week.
Or 0-7.
Yeah. God, the West Coast and on the road, it's been tough. It is. So I forget, is Tyron pitching in the San Diego series? No. Yes, Tyron pitches the 3rd game in San Diego. Mm-hmm. Boy, that would be something else. For Tyron to go out there and pitch 6 or 7 and give up 1 or 2 on the West Coast, which is obviously on the road, would be a nice, another piece of optimism for his turnaround. All right, guys, that is the show. Everyone, please make sure you have us in your RSS feeds or subscriptions on iTunes or Stitcher so that you don't miss any of our weekly shows. And as always, check us out at AtlantaBaseballTalk.com for past shows, to check out our blogs, and to post in our comments section. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at ATL Baseball Talk and to like us on Facebook. Thanks again for listening, everyone, and go Braves!
Thanks for listening to Atlanta Baseball Talk, your weekly podcast for all things Atlanta Braves. To find new shows, to post in our forum, or to send a comment, please visit us at AtlantaBaseballTalk.com.
Had to admit the problem.